My thing
But
personally.
question to you. So, what do you think about the proposed, well, the funding of the electoral reform via the loan facility extended by the National Bank of Dominica? Because I've heard talk about that, and I hear in the different opinions being aired, and I don't know. I I look at it, I see that, we've spent an awful lot of time and money, on something, and right now to look at, I mean, from what I understand, we already have an overdraft facility used by the government at the National Bank, and I'm not sure of the status of that overdraft. And to extend another, you know, multi-million-dollar loan at the expense of the taxpayers, I don't know. What's your perspective on that, Pyro? Because
Well, I tell you, Flacco, the whole loan, and first of all, we cannot tax ourselves into prosperity, and we cannot borrow ourselves into prosperity.
true.
The only way we're going to find ourselves into prosperity is by executing a vision. And it's not just any vision, because the man vision is basically exploiting the basic resources of the country and not being creative about it. But yeah, I mean, my understanding of economics is that economics is our activity, and without human activity, with limited human activity, your economy going to be restricted. And when you look at it, government tax base has been shrinking because the population has been shrinking. Then we outsource our largest sector of our economy, which is the construction industry. When you look at the construction industry, that is the only place $1 billion is being spent. So without a question, that is the largest sector of the economy. Now, when you outsource our largest sector of our economy to foreigners, and foreigners that do not participate in our local economy. So all those things have consequences. And they say like, boy, we get things for free, cost nothing to the state. But I did some economics, and one of the things that I learned is that there is always a cost. There is always a cost, whether it's be an opportunity cost, whether it is there is always a cost. Whether it's a production cost, whatever it may be, whether we choose to absorb the cost, but there's always a cost. The cost is always passed on to the consumer. Basic economics, right? And when you look at the manner in which the economy is being managed, it, we're on a tragic trip.
Zero sum.
We're on a tragic trip for a major disaster, because at the end of the day, we're not producing, right? Our economy basically unproductive. We bleed in our number one resource, which is our human resource, and we suffer from a serious brain drain, which is even enforced by our government through that whole scholarship program. Now, anything new to really deal with any of the issues? No, right? We come up with Government has come up with basically outsource. That is their solution. So we outsource it. We have outsourced our largest sector and we feel in it because there's no direct way of injecting funds in the economy. What they would do is pass around and maybe.
No, no, hold on, because, and I don't want to cut your train of thought. You see, everything that you're saying is of immense value to the conversation. You check me, but you said something there that there that is the only way of injecting.
Not the only way, but
Well,
that is one of the
one
ways.
of the ways, right?
Is by
But then,
employment in the construction industry.
right,
Because there you'd be able to employ a large sector of the population,
right,
especially like
right,
the low skilled
yeah,
and like you'd go to unskilled, semi-skilled and skilled workers. So
yes,
you'd be able to employ a large sector of the population,
yeah,
which by paying them wages,
yeah.
this would be able to um, inject funds into the economy.
But let me be a devil's advocate. Let me be devil's advocate because we hear in, you know, talk of the how they call it, anniversary celebrations, and we hear in the rhetoric of, you know,
Just so
but
before you
but
go there, yes, we are talking
yeah,
about
but it relevant, the question I going to ask you,
well, okay.
okay? Because to me, the people that are there use the elections basically like a way to inject. That's something that I've said, that we seem to have an election industry.
Well,
That
yes,
we
yes.
take loans or we take state funds to fund campaigns or to basically inject money into the economy and create a frenzy around elections. You know,
Well,
and use
yes.
that basically to manipulate the voting base, the electorate.
That is where now the whole management of the state
Yeah,
comes into question. So where you defining, and is the thing
because I
I mean,
find the timing of that loan,
yes,
it's
but apart from
funny.
that, if you take a look, right, you have to be able to differentiate
Yeah,
between a political party and the state,
yeah,
right?
right,
So when it's that when the line of being a political party and being a state manager start to blur,
right,
then we have a problem.
yeah,
You check. So as long as we cannot differentiate
yeah.
between state
And
and political
party,
party, we have a
that's a
serious
problem.
issue.
Because to me, I find the timing of that loan, Pyro, it just funny.
Well,
And we tend we
the thing
tend to
about it,
we tend to have a legacy of talking about elections being funded by, you know, state funds.
well, the thing about it, Flaco, again, it comes back to our economy and the management of our economy. Because, and we as a people, you check me, what we decide. Because all of us have what we have important to us in. You check?
Yeah,
We each have what is important to us. And if we look at what that is important to us, you check me, as individuals and as a collective, then we're going to deal with things, because our issues is just like last night I was listening to a program and the fellas are speaking about the whole issue with no leader of opposition in parliament, right? And there is a constitutional crisis. There is something that's supposed to be dealt with immediately. There is something that is of high importance. There is a thing that it happened and we're supposed to deal with it. But it has been allowed to drag and linger and like almost like it is of no consequence. You check? And it's them kind of things, like dealing in situations. Like today again, I was watching I came across this video of nurses protesting. I don't know which country it was, but nurses were protesting online. And I was like, to me, from time you have to protest. You see, from time you have to protest, but your phone shut down.
Your phone shut down. It wasn't charging.
I check in from time you have to protest.
Oh no, so it's still live?
Yeah, man.
Huh?
From time you have to protest
Yeah. Well,
is charging now. From time you have to protest, to me, your management is that an issue. You check me. The management has an issue, and from there, you need new management because the management cannot deal with the situation.
true. Because you
So
see, yeah.
it's the same thing like us, you know. You check me. Look at what is that?
The other phone.
Huh?
The other phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you want to pick up, 1 second. Yeah.
I'll just bring my phone here. Yeah. Yeah. So, I just looking at the whole timing scale, the timing and magnitude of that loan in check. And yeah, we have a track record of that, you know. We tend to think that maybe, throwing money at a thing will solve our problems, but nah,
Yeah, you need vision,
we need,
and
yeah.
you need vision, and you need a plan and a sustainable plan because Ralph said it, selling citizenship is not a sustainable activity. For how long you can really continue doing that? How much people are really impacting? That not spreading the wealth around really the economy, and what you're going to be at the mercy of foreigners, or basically at the mercy of a few lawyers or a few persons to decide what activity everybody else should partake in. So if you're not a person that into hoteling and them kind of a things, you're into tourism, or you into agriculture, into some other things, you have some innovative thing you want to do. Basically, you are limited, you're restricted, your activity is restricted, and
Yeah.
that
Because to me, life without participation, being able to participate in the economically in the life of the country, you know, to me that is what that causes the government or a country to thrive. Is about people participation. People are the taxpayers, the taxpayers are the one that generate part of the government revenue. They are a big part of the government revenue. So it in the government interest to grow the tax base, you know. But all of those again are just symptoms and just identifying again the problems. But what is the solution? And we've been talking about the solution. Today we listen to one of the um, one of the independent
Candidates.
senators in the House.
Them
You
people
know,
not independent. We know better than that.
yeah, but you see,
Is
listen. I always, you see, with human beings, I always ready to extend the benefit of the doubt. You know why?
no man in that
Because
benefit of doubt.
no,
They
listen
should,
to
let me
me.
tell you that. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you that. If
Yeah.
there's a doubt, there's a doubt. But there's no doubt. Like them people show man straight. Like yeah, that is who they're about. You check that. We all know them people
Yeah.
been manipulated and controlled by workers
But I going to say though.
or a
But I
sector
going to
of the
say though.
United Workers
But I
Party.
going to say though. The solution that we've been presenting is independent thought, albeit that we may not see eye to eye on certain things. We always have our differences. It will always have things like that. But the
But that
big
is
thing is
natural.
we have to have people who are able to not only think independently but demonstrate that they can think independently.
Well, I
For
believe
years we've had a situation in the house where we have the eyes have it. Where is it? Where do we see
yep.
demonstrated the ability for people to agree even if they disagree? To 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 take a plan that even if it's a good plan and make it better through constructive criticism and acceptance of arguments based on
Again,
merit.
again,
So
that is why I keep
yeah.
saying, right? Like to me, it's about creating a vision and moving forward, right? Okay. Like a lot of them things is things we've discussed on many occasions. And the whole how would I put it? Loyalty to political party, people put party before their country and we see
Oh, the constitution. The party have its constitution, so
yeah, so we see that has affected us as a nation over the years. We see it. We're experiencing that right now. We check. So there's no real discussion. There's no true discussion. The discussion is being had as them people in their political institutions. You check. So really and truly, the whole because we suppose Parliament is an institution that's supposed to be having discussions, debates. And I already say you come and you debate it. Check me. Not because you're in a political party, you're supposed to side
every
with
single
everything that,
thing, every
but
single
because
thing,
of the
yeah.
loyalty and Poto and we Poto and with our tribe, we're not about the bigger tribe, which is us as a nation. You check me. But we're there because with the people that rule in the country, with the administrator. So we already know like that is an issue, and we already know that that's not working, that's not functioning for us. Because we're in a situation where we have basically a leader who, who is a very poor leader in terms of creating that prosperity for all of us, or the majority of us. So what we find, we are suffering from major brain drain, and this administration has not been able to pull us together as Dominicans and allow us to participate in what is Dominica, what is us as a people. So what have we been doing is running away from the country, brain drain. And the solution they have come up with is basically give young people scholarship so they can go away. They don't need to come back. You're not funded, so you don't need to come back.
But
I remember.
therein
Huh?
lies the solution. I think I think I don't know Triple
Well,
entirely, but I think we have a dilemma, not just a political one. Parts of it political, yeah, but part of it is a moral dilemma as well. You check, and I think to the solution now that we proposing, it addressing both, and I can explain how.
go
The
ahead,
way
I'm
I see
listening.
it, is that we have this contentious issue that we're talking about, where electoral reform concern and so on and so on and so on. I believe that the very thing that the incumbency is seeking to exploit to its advantage is the very thing that anybody seeking to defeat the government should be using, if they intend, if they want to get into power, if power is the objective, right? And boy, that conversation is so diverse. It's like right now I standing at how many different roads I can go down. You check, but I
It's you
want to
to choose a
choose.
road.
I want to choose, the road of the moral argument, because no matter how loud you talk right now, the people who control the ear of the public, the people who have the ear of the public in the opposition, you know, they are set on a conversation around power, right? Now, if that is your objective, and you intend to go up against an opponent that has abandoned morality, you cannot now be talking about, you cannot be now using a moral argument as your stumbling block. Okay? So the whole argument of residency and people being overseas should not, to me that is a moral argument. People say, well, I've been out of Dominica 20 years, and so I'm not coming to participate and so on. To me, that is a moral obstacle that people run and hide behind, while we are here faced with a crisis of morality, where we are led by the immorality and we can see it. So we talk about the people who support what's going on and how they will be ready to die with their boots on in defense of what we consider the indefensible. But here we have on the other side people who choose to say, based on their morality, they will not act to defend Dominica. Right now, the door is wide open. The incumbent has opened the doors wide, so that anybody can wipe their foot and come in to cast their ballot. Right now is not the time for any moral argument. Anybody that intend or want to see the back of that government
Well, I go tell you,
have a
Flaco,
duty now. Because
my opinion,
to me, that is
frankly,
your ability, your vote is your weapon. If you consider that the ballot is the way that you want to go to create change, then every Dominican should return to vote, my brother. Every Dominican should see how they can mobilize their neighbor and everybody else around them to come down and to do what is morally right for Dominica and for the future generations of Dominica. Because to hide behind that argument of, I haven't been in Dominica for 20 years, so I'm going to stay out of it and watch while
but
if
Flaco,
then you
Flaco,
just agree what it is. You check?
Flaco, when you really look at it, I mean, people checking people have not been in Dominica for 20 years. But if you really have to look at it, if every 5 years you come in to vote, you get in to vote, it doesn't mean it's not 20 years. Every 5 years you come in now. So, in my opinion, my thing is present a vision and lobby the cause.
Well,
You
that
check
is the
me.
other road. That is the other road, that I was
I
talking about.
frankly believe that it have a large group of Dominicans that on the fence. You check me. That in between that feel they could be swayed into voting against Labour Party. I believe so. To me, the environment, our political environment turns people away. That is why I keep saying like it's about presenting a vision that people could buy into, reject me, and people could accept. So yes, we'll sit there and we'll argue who can come and vote, who cannot come and vote, who this, who that. But at the end of the day, it's not going to change the situation. You check. But if you get on the ground, if you get to people, if you have that vision, if you can convince a man, well, I shouldn't say really say, well, yeah, convince somebody to see what you see or to believe in themselves. Because basically, the country is for all of us to believe in ourselves, my brother. And that is the only way we can go forward. Is if each of us believe in ourselves and be able to create what we believe in. But we need the environment that we can be free enough to create what we need to create. And for me, the checking is to create that environment. You check.
Yeah, man, Pyro, you on target, you know. That is another one of the roads that I was talking about, because I mean, like I say, if the conversation is power, then that is one way. You check me because the people that there right now, the question of morality is not a discussion for them. But if we're talking about
What's that saying there?
what you talking about, like actual revolution, that is not just a change. That is a complete
Well,
180.
Zed making Zed say I agree with your assessment, which is more the reason why we need a united front politically and civic-wise. Well, a united front is always good, but united in terms of what? Because as we can see, I mean, I just always watch things, and right now, a lot of people has asked me, why, what I just feel about what is going on with United Workers' Party, the whole opposition. And straight up, I just tell people, myself, I watching the monkeys in the circus. You check? Because what I see is a circus, and yes, the United Front has to be united in a vision where we can all participate and we're all included. It's not just a thing where some man feel it's them and them that should be doing this, or it's them that should be able to lead certain ways. I mean, if a man come up and he can do it better than me, My youth, I step aside long time in. You check. So, man's supposed to be humble enough to recognize, boy, yo, we have to be open to one another, man. And humility important, you check, especially with all them egos. And be able to sit and converse with one another, comprehend one another, and create. Because if we have Dominica at heart, my brother, that shouldn't be an issue. We should all be able to sit together and share and create that vision and go forward. Because the country can, if each of us doing well, all of us making a contribution, whether it's towards ourselves or towards the group, my brother, is everybody going to benefit in the long run? You know? Right now, we see in the attitude of one person, one group, and it's not working, it hasn't worked. We see how the country has deteriorated, the economy deteriorating. And yeah, for me, I mean, we'll never agree on everything. That is normal, we're human beings. But we have to be able to have the conversation. You check. As long as we cannot have a conversation, it makes no sense, you check. And the conversation have to have you have to have comprehension. You have to be able to comprehend with one another. And we have to be tolerant with one another. Yes, we're going to offend one another. You know. We're definitely going to offend one another. That's normal. And
because
that's
where my argument coming from.
you see, Flacco, as a man grow up on the street corner, you check. And you know it is today you and a man exchange words and yeah, it's all your rasa. You know it does go extreme and not even 5 seconds later, man and man they're easy, you check, because at the end of the day, trying to deal with a situation is not really about disrespecting one another, you know,
But
but
you
it's
see,
our style
but
of
listen,
expression and it's so we grow up
it
in certain ways, but
disrespectful. It disrespectful, I think,
huh?
to sit in a moral high ground, asking people to change. Talking about wait. Talking about how people suspend their morality
But
for their
again,
survival. Listen, man. Suspend their morality for their survival every day so their children can eat. So they, you check me? How many people suffer indignity day to day? You check me? And then we cannot suspend our morality. I believe
but hear that
in the
Flacco.
goodness in people, and I believe it have a greater amount of people that want to see change than
Yes,
we have
but is that I
people
telling
that
yourself?
want to enforce another set of another 10, 15 years of misery on themselves, my brother.
But it's not that I
You
tell. That is
understand?
the same thing. We say the both same thing.
No, but then you
But what I
see,
tried and what I just know and to get some to a point
yeah,
because you're speaking of a morality and to me the people have been coming down for what now we say 20 years now. So if Labour Party in 25 years in power for 25 years, at least 20 years
no, I'm
they've
not
been.
talking about the people that have been
No.
coming.
Listen to what I say
I'm
because
talking about those that
listen to
have
what
been
I say.
preserving,
Listen to what I say, right?
you
Because
know.
we're talking about people coming into Dominica to vote, right? So when you say them people there, but every 5 years, them same people there coming, them same set of people coming. You check me? So to say them people do not there for 10, 15, 20 years is not true. You check me? So really and truly,
So,
them people, they've been on the edge.
so,
Because if
so,
they come in every 5 years, they meeting the requirements, you know, it's 5 years is the limit. So they meeting the requirement.
so listen.
So To me,
So
yeah,
listen,
to me, right now,
you're making the argument more potent.
yes, but
There
that's what
has
I telling
never
you.
been a reason for them to feel that they're doing something wrong then. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay. So then
But
to me, if that is the case, then that is a political advantage that should be exploited, my brother. Why is it not being sold as a political advantage? You check I telling you? That is my argument. If the gate open, my brother,
but
let
Flacco,
everybody come and shift the blood clots
the
forward
whole
in the road.
the whole thing of the diaspora voting, right? That was a UWP argument, right? Now, if we really have to go down the road of discussing that whole
That
diaspora,
I don't want to do. You check.
no, I mean
I
his
want to go
argument
down the road of having to
is a
discuss
discussion that should be
them
have.
and their strategy. All I
No,
doing
I don't
is
talking about them, man. I don't
presenting
talking about them, man.
a benefit.
We talking about ourselves going, or we looking at it. For me, the way I looking at it straight, present. You see for me presently, my personal opinion about the whole diaspora voting. If you cannot make it that everybody has the opportunity to vote, then nobody should be allowed to vote. You check? So if there's not a platform that you could vote electronically or whatever it may be, and it's available to every Dominican, then that is something that should just be squashed. And again, when you look at Dominica, how are you going to stabilize the population? How are you going to build the population? How are you going to build the economy when people are allowed to leave the country and yet still retain all their rights and all their privileges? There should be some disadvantage to live in the country, my brother. Because when you leave the country, right?
You see, all of that is for the longer debate, to me. Because to me, the immediate issue right now is that these conversations will go nowhere as long as you see we have people in incumbency
Well, you're right
using
about
the
that.
advantage, brother.
You're right
So there
about
must
that.
be an immediate strategy to deal with what we're confronting right now.
And to me, the immediate
You
strategy
understand?
is
And
putting a vision forward
yes, which is
and
exactly why
a
I told
vision.
you that I believe that it have more good people with their heart bleeding for Dominica right now,
Definitely.
wanting to see the back of this administration, my
Definitely.
brother. And
I,
if you
I
want to
agree
use
with you.
that as a political advantage, now is the time to mobilize the entire diaspora, like you say, and take the same whip that this man is thinking that he's going to use to beat us, take it and give him the ass cutting of a lifetime, my brother.
Yes.
You understand? We have to be tired of playing games, my brother. I tired of playing games, You understand? The other way is the slow and painful way of trying to win seats back in the house. Because the question is not about, oh, scary it and what. It's the question of how we perceive our politics. You cannot want to create a one-party state and then sit and complain, my brother. You create imbalance in the house by well, let me don't put it like that. Let me don't put it like that because that's being a little harsh. Let me
But it's the
rewind a little.
reality.
Let me rewind a little.
The rewind,
You
my brother.
understand?
The reality is the reality.
You have the seats have been eroded seat by seat by seat. That creates an imbalance in the house, my brother. So you can make noise from January to December. What will the party tell you? The eyes have it. They do not demonstrate statesmanship. Look, right now we have no leader of the opposition. Do they demonstrate statesmanship in ensuring that they put somebody there to oppose them? To as a to get this whole opposition leader debacle there sorted out. Do they do that? No, because it is in their advantage. Because it to them it play into their hands. So depending on a change in character from the people that are pressing you, it's futile. It not they've gone too far and it's not in their interest
to take their foot off our neck. So we have to begin to do the work. People always been saying, get on the ground and do the work, but I never really understand it until it come to where, I really had to be there myself, my brother. You check? To be a victim of the same, you know, to be Delta card, where right now I no longer, after 14 years, have my traditional form of employment. Right now I'm employing somebody. You check I telling you? So it point me towards
So
me and
now,
my own ability. So now I see now the very things that the people have been talking about that have been ignored. Things like right now, I hear recently they were talking about that the public service and the people that retiring right now and still paying mortgages that cannot receive their gratuity. That these are the things that have eroded the public confidence in the representation of the party. Because when you're telling me that you have people employed in the public service to me is the benchmark for how everybody else in the country should be living. So when you do fight for the public service, when you do, to me, fighting for the public service is like fighting for the common man because they are the government is the biggest employer, and these people have small businesses. These people have um, people that they pay to do work for them. So the trickle down economics from the public service prospering, you know, and not just that, but when you have a thriving public sector, then they can help to build that private sector as well. They can provide better services, more efficient to the public, and that building the private sector as well. So when you build a tax base that you can then generate a sustainable revenue from, you check me, and the solutions we talking you check the solutions right there in front of us, but the people that they don't have the political will to do what is right by the people. You know, look at the situation. We sending our children, our daughters, and them overseas. You check me. What there for our boys? Look at the rate at which we losing our young men, and that is why the whole thing of morality comes up in my mind. So young, our young people have to suspend them. We just talk about them. Oh, they go in, they prostituting, they selling drugs, or they making backdoor. We know all the things to say about our young people. We know all what to talk about our young people. You check me. So at the moment when we can take a simple thing like a vote and come down from our high horse and use that vote now to make a way to shift this big stone in the road, not just for us, but for future generations. We might even see the benefit of it. You check me. We might have to sight. We might see the wonder of what the potential of the youth will bring. You check me, because our time done pass already. Really, when you look at it, you check me. We need people that are ready to sacrifice for the next generation, not to come and splurge and to feel like as if
we see it.
they now they make it and now they're going to.
I'll make a read a comment, Alvin. Alvin said, Pyro, we need to go back to the Constitution and to put into context the significance. The significance of the vote vis-a-vis people representation in the country. It is way more than just casting a vote. We vote for individuals to represent me, the citizen. Yeah, I mean, the Constitution is the utmost important document in the society that's created every institution, and we're going back to the Constitution and voting and the different the different tenets of democracy that has been established under the Constitution. And voting is one aspect, and representation through politicians in a parliament and a cabinet and so on, and a judiciary. So yeah, it's definitely something that is of the utmost importance. So as I said, saying, Flacco, I hear you. Reactionary argument. The problem is its optimal implementation is difficult. And here's why: because election does not occur on a fixed date. It means only the ruling party supporters will be prepared for traveling on the date decided. Other foreigners have a harder time preparing themselves for traveling for an election. But I think your idea needs to be vented. Well, yeah, and that makes a good point there in terms of the election doesn't have a fixed date presently, as is, and like I tell Flacco to me, that is why I feel like if you're going to make it available to the diaspora, you're supposed to make it something electronic that everybody should be able to participate, and not just your supporters who you can afford to people you can afford to transport. And I mean, when you look at it, people talk about, oh, transportation is not a form of bribery, but when you look at it, the value of a transport of the ticket, that is not like to say I giving you a ride on a vehicle from there to there, where you're just like a bus fare or something like that. No, you're talking about a ticket that might cost thousands of dollars. You're talking about somebody might have to overstay in a hotel, and I mean, it have a level of corruption, man, and if the system cannot see that, something wrong with the system, magistrate or something. I mean, them things, corruption. So yeah, if you're making it available, it should be made available to. That is my opinion on it. It should be made available to
Yeah,
everybody.
I get where Zed coming from, and you see, it may
Yeah, I said I have
We
a
we
don't
good
don't have
have
the
the
point.
kind
kind
of
of
resources
resources
that
that
the
the
incumbent
incumbent
has,
has,
but
but
if
if
people
people
are
are
prepared
prepared
to
to
make
make
the
the
thing
thing
happen,
happen,
then
then
I
I
mean we
mean we
can
can
meet
meet
them
them
halfway.
halfway.
Why
Why
not?
not?
If we
If we
can
can
do
do
if we
if we
can
can
do
do
25%,
25%,
get
get
20,
20,
get
get
people
people
mobilized,
mobilized,
get
get
people
people
at
at
least
least
on
on
their
their
mark,
mark,
so that who
who
that
that
is
is
able
able
to
No, but the
ensure
thing
to
about it, it
make it.
actually have people that has paid their own ticket and come down
Yes,
yes,
and do
but
their
but
thing.
not
not
just
just
that,
that,
but
but
it
it
have
have
people
But
people
that
that
have
have
money.
money.
It
It
have
have
millionaires
millionaires of
sitting
sitting
out
out
there,
there,
to me
Dominican
and
millionaires
Flacco,
sitting out
you
there.
see me personally,
You check me, so
again, it's creating division
yeah.
and putting it forward. You check? Because even like that, buying a man ticket, uh, and sending him to Dominica to come and vote.
My
It
whether
brother,
still
which
doesn't.
come
listen
down
It's
for
for
listen to
person,
that.
yes,
it
it
does
It
still
still
doesn't
doesn't guarantee
guarantee. Yes, that
this
is true.
individual is going to vote for you.
that
That
is
is
true.
true.
You
That is
check
true.
me.
That is true.
So I mean, complaining about, yo, you see me. I don't know where, but I grew up in an environment where man never used to complain. A problem arise, is either we sit down and we deal with it. You check?
Yeah.
And it's deal with it. It don't have time to say, well, boy, you have the. Or I should put it, you don't have a luxury to sit down and complain about things and feel like that going to make it better. Or that going to make you feel better about yourself. No.
Hear that, Pyro. That is my whole.
The thing about it,
That is my
that is
whole.
why, you
That
see
is my
me,
whole thing around
Ako, let me tell you that.
the
Hold on, before you even continue.
ideology around the thing.
You hear that? Let me tell you that. That was one of the reasons I personally came up and speak up, because I check in the way the man dealing with the issue. He's not dealing with the issue. He sit down on a radio station and complain and cry and not present. You check me? Because yes, you might put certain things in a manifesto, but to present it, you check me? I never really hear to say, I would hear more about the cries and the complaints and the thing than a vision and vibes on the radio. You check? So I check in like, to me, sometimes I just don't want to hear about the problem. Check, because we know the problem. You check me? Yes, we can do reference to the problem and everything there. But me myself, I know myself is, yo, a problem arise, is let's go, we're dealing with it. We're dealing with it. You check? That kind of thing, like as if, boy, for how much years he does there on that problem, on that problem, on that problem. And it's like you're not presenting a solution, you're not presenting a solution to me. That defeating the purpose, you check? Like for me, okay, see if I come so and I say, well, okay, boom, I present a solution to the people and the people will reject it. I can say, well, okay, I go back to the drawing board and reinvent that vision where I say, okay, you know what? Me personally, I can't deal with it. Allow it to somebody else. You check what I say? But to sit down there now and just dragging and darling over a problem. Like, nah, man. I can't. But I can't have indigestion.
Well, it's a war of attrition, and these guys have lost all the seats that they could lose. And
Well, the thing about it is
to
not
get a
these guys, you know.
landslide there, no,
Let me tell you that,
you check
Blacko.
me. To right
It's not
now,
these guys, you know. Let me tell you that. You
the
see,
solution
let me
right
tell you
now,
that. Let me tell you that.
the
You see
solution right
something?
now is independent force.
Yes, but let me tell you that. You see
Promote
something?
independent
Sometimes we just look
movement.
at it certain ways. But when you really check it, anytime the opposition fail, all of us are paying for it, you know, as Dominicans, you know, because we continuing on the administration that cannot administrate it. And the poor administration, the poor management of the economy is we that have to, we that paying for it, you know, whether physically, mentally, whether we're paying for it, Father, we're paying for it, and it breaking people back, it breaking people's
Well, that's
spirit.
why I yourself don't have much saying, because if I have to start to talk there, I can't be on the live, you check? Real thing.
So what I've been saying, we need to start with the question, why do we vote? What is the purpose of your vote? And if
Boy,
people know
everybody know why they
vote
voting, my
is
brother.
it
Them
a
people
big
know why they
denial.
voting, you check? They know, they know. But like a lady was saying this morning, people want to eat the sausage, they don't know how it making. You check, I telling you. That is where the people you watch.
Looks at tell you speak,
Yo,
my road.
yo, my bro, let me tell you something, eh? Let me tell you something, eh? You watch, boy. If I have to be a beast, if I have to be a beast, boy, if I have to be a beast. Plenty people in that place can't afford their their assets, you know. What you see they have there, you know. They clinging on to it by their fingernails, you know, brother. Let me tell you something. If
Yeah,
inflation,
but
between inflation, let me tell you something, hold on. The cost of your assets going up every 3 to 5 years, okay? Your house. So your mortgage you're paying every 3 to 5 years, you have to go and reevaluate it. The value going up, if you maybe add addition on it, if you maybe, it going up. So guess what? The insurance premium going up. But you know what does happen? And 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 you know why I hitting on that? Because many of the people, many of the people that in the position to sway the votes, to sway the situation, that is the situation they're in. We living in an illusion where we pretending that we okay and we not okay because we cannot afford our assets. People talking about, oh, people going, them young people going out and fet and talking about living beyond their means. We living beyond our means, my brother, because inflation going up, and we asking the man when he come and value it, we trying to tell him, you know, do do value it for so much, now value it for less, because if you value it for the full value, I will not be able to afford the to pay the premium. You check me? Lying to ourselves, boy. We pretend we fooling now. The maths does never lie. The maths does
Again,
never lie, my brother.
Flacco,
You check?
again, when we outsource our largest sector of our economy, it have consequences, my brother. You check?
And I being gentle, Pyro,
No,
right?
but when we outsource, it's a thing. But we don't
Because I used to
understand.
see
We
them
don't
people,
understand.
boy, dress up and put on fucking makeup and thing and
My brother,
believe like people can't see through their fucking, see through plastic fucking life, boy. You check me, not because people don't believe it because you're walking on with a slippers, a Chinese slippers in your foot that maybe you have it for 6 months and thing, and you can change it, but you just checking like no, and you're watching them and they believe like as if you're not seeing through their see-through transparent life, boy. Trying to hold the pieces together. You check? We don't fooling nobody but ourselves, my brother. You check? All of these people, they know what the time is because you have assets, you have a mortgage, you have insurance paying, you have children. You know what the time is, my brother. You check? So when inflation eating away at your spending power, right? And then your assets going up. You know what gonna happen to a lot of people just now? They're going to have to either sell their property or go and rent and let the property lease the property so the property can it pay the mortgage, can pay it, and go and rent somewhere. You check me? I telling you, people reaching their 60 years retirement age and still a mortgage paying. Why? Because of the failure within the public service to appoint people on time, to give people regular appraisals, and to give people the incremental increase that is due to them. You know, I keep saying it, them people shoot themselves in the foot because they believe by denying people of a dignified life that it will it will serve them in their political interest to create poverty and to keep people like. But no, my brother, you check me? Because guess what? The taxpayers, that is your largest source of that should be your largest source of revenue. But guess what? It's not. CBI is it, and yeah. So to me, we have to stop pretending, and we have to get real with ourselves and each other. You check? The maths doesn't lie.
well, I've been on you with the voting. So as I've been saying, there are Flacco, I do not agree with you. Several people do not know why they vote to the extent that they get paid by politicians to vote. That sacred vote that our forefathers fought and died for. Their votes, their vote is treated and seen as a commodity for sale. Well,
Why is that? Because of the indignity that is
but you
entrenched
see,
in our culture.
what is his
Talk
name?
about people telling young man to love themselves and then go and face exploitation in the workplace. How do I love myself is to leave that job, and then when I leave that job now, you calling me lazy. You check? Now look at that again. Today I was eavesdropping on a conversation in a chat group, and the people were talking about how the foreigners getting the jobs and the foreigners getting all the. But listen, a lot of those projects there that we see being done and funded by the CBI, these workers are covered by the international labor standards. They have to deal with them people in a certain way and a certain. So the international labor standards protecting the foreign workers, but do our labor standards, does our labor division protect us? What is there to protect us? Do we understand our labor rights?
You know, as you saying that, a man told me a few weeks back that the Chinese in the Pottersville School project striking.
They strike.
Yeah, they had strike for their money.
Okay, so you
They
see,
didn't pay them. They're supposed to pay them like a Friday,
uh,
and the payment was delayed.
uh,
The next good day, the man strike.
so you see, no wasting time.
That is
No
what I don't
wasting
know how
time.
true it is. I was trying to find out some more
But
information.
that is part of international labor law. The ILO convention on labor says that you cannot deny, and even our local labor law said that you cannot deny, you cannot withhold a person wages past 30 days, my brother. That is law. There is a penalty for that under law, which is a
Yeah, but
fine,
how
and
many people have been penalized?
how many you can
Huh?
go jail for that,
How
boy.
many persons have been penalized?
None. You just hear
Exactly.
about that? All
Exactly.
you just hear is, boy, they don't pay this month. Boy, they don't pay next month. Boy, 3 months they don't pay. Boy,
But the
4 months they
union,
don't pay. And the union dead like you check me,
your partner.
my partner. I really
But
like to check
anyway,
you know.
you see, yes, Alvin, I agree with you on that one. Yes, the vote is important, but I shouldn't really call it a but, and voting is just, like I said earlier on, one of the tenets of democracy. And yes, you're right, because Alec Lawrence spoke about it in his book, that you will be surprised to see how little that we know about our constitution and how our government functions. And it goes back to the constitution again. We have to be educated about our constitution, right? We need to be educated about our constitution and how it affects our life. Because all those, all those rights and freedom, things like voting is established on the constitution.
Alvin, I gotta tell you why I disagree with you there. I going to tell you why I disagree with you.
Uh,
Because you see, if
but
if you have to convey a message to me
you
on the
might go
typical
higher.
day when I try to, huh? Okay. If if somebody trying to maybe teach me about something or educate me about something on my 9 to 5, like where I hustling, trying to make my daily quota, because every day I have a certain amount of money I need to meet so that I can eat it. Chances are I can hear you, my brother. I have time to listen to what you're telling me. You check I telling you? Because you see, if I do what I do in there, when I reach home, my house are like best friend. You check I telling you? Bread, certain thing can organize it. And it really like that, brother. You check I saying?
You're living on the daily.
To me, for people to be receptive to a message, timing is everything. And once you're talking about time, to get a person attention, to get a person, and you see maybe that is why the money thing does work on we just see the money thing working and we just hate it. Like when the boss man come down the road down there and in the barn, open the fridge and thing and you see how immediately he have their attention, you check, or her bear.
Well, I wouldn't really say it's for a beer.
Well, I just say at that moment
is
there,
still the man.
at that moment there, the man can say, "Hey, let us go and lift up that boat by the Lambata man." Everybody that there will be moving that boat.
Because that's what I'm telling you. The man is still the man.
But that is what I'm telling you. It's not
So even
about
if you don't even,
it's not about
even
the
if you
money.
take out the beer in the equation, it still demands a certain
The
level.
time, you see the time. If you want people time not free, my brother. People want something in exchange for their time, even just to listen to your message, brother. You check? Yes, I don't say it to have the one-on-one, you can go and sit down and think. But when, like we was talking the last time there, you check? The people, no matter how much Moun Séwyè go up and down and talk and talk and talk and talk, the people with the ear of the public, it have those that, it have two sides, two ears. One set have the left ears and another set have the right ears. You check I telling you? So you can't talk into people's nose and expect them to hear you. You check I telling you? So to me, if you don't address people's material condition, then to them, speaking about ideology and abstract things, especially people that trap in that lower state, in that lower vibration there.
But you see, Flacco,
Brother, trust
you
me.
see when you tell yourself them thing there, you go and trap yourself. Because you see me, I tell man, one of the things I just hear, I kind of thankful for was spending 6 years in Cuba. Check. Maybe I tell maybe for me, brother, I agree with what you just said. I see people believe in ideology, my brother. I see it, I live it. You check me?
It always have those spiral.
Not those. Not
Not all
those.
you get that like that.
I
That
tell
we
you, not
believe in
even
ideology.
all of us believing in ideology, my brother. You check? Even what we're speaking is an ideology. You check me? It's just a matter of manifestation and working to create the ideology in reality.
Hey,
But
do
we all,
confuse. Don't
I don't
confuse.
confuse it nothing.
Don't confuse manifestation with
My brother,
ideology.
I don't confuse it nothing.
Some
Let me tell you that. Hold on a second. Give me.
only
My
start to
brother,
believe when they see the manifestation.
my brother, my
Or
brother,
when they get a hint
my
of the
brother.
manifestation.
Let me talk. You check? You see ideology? Again, let me tell you about a vision. A vision is an ideology. You check me? It's an ideology you formulating. You check me? And you have to be able to sell it. If you cannot sell it, that is why I'm telling you. If I come there, no, right? And I present a plan to the nation, to my fellow Dominicans, and they reject me. It's either two things, either I go back to the drawing board and refine my ideology, refine my plan, refine my vision, and come back again. Why I agree, I leave that alone. Reject me. So, ideology, everything in human beings, starting an ideology. All what we doing is starting an ideology. Before we go on the road, we have to sit down and come up with the idea to go on the road. Huh? Everything is that. You see? You see the life is and again, that's why I say is being able to create that vision. You check? Being able to create that vision and presenting it. You check? Because I sitting down in a classroom, having that experience of sitting down in a classroom and witnessing, okay, we had 2 classrooms in university of 60, about 63 of us, I think. With a group of 30 and 33, I think it was. And then you'd have to do a presentation. So every presentation, I think every presentation, so you'd have to do presentations and every presentation, everybody free to critique your presentation. But everybody has to make a presentation. But we're given the same criteria. All of us given the exact same criteria. Not one of us have the exact same presentation. So you're talking about 63 different presentations under the same criteria. You check? Some of us have multiple ideologies in that same presentation. You check me? So when you come to, and you have to present that ideology, that idea, that vision, to say a group of 30 plus the teachers. And then, yes, you feel to yourself, you're confident enough that you're going to sell that ideology to your fellow classmates. And you come down and you do your first thing and a man just comes and shoot that down. Wow, 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 and put so much holes in your tree. You must, either you just scrap that, or you just go back to you must go back to the drawing board. Either you go back to the drawing board and reformulate what you're thinking, or strengthen what you're thinking, or just scrap that and come up with something new. You check? But at the end of the day, that whole thing of iron sharpen iron, you check me? That is when Z, speaking of the unity in the opposition. That is what it's supposed to be, that we're supposed to be able to sit and present their different ideologies and let's go with the strength, you check. So they might not have the ability to sell his ideology or somebody else's ideology to his fellow Dominicans. But an ideology that we could believe in, an ideology that we could work towards creating together as a nation. So that is what it should be. Reject me.
My ideology, it have more of us than them.
Of course, it have more of us, my brother, because
wanting good for them.
but everybody want prosperity. Nobody don't like to live in. None of us.
You see them words we use in there. Them words there is, you see that.
Nobody don't like poverty in Flacco.
Well, let me tell you something, my friend. You see when we talk about being charitable.
Yes, no. We do not like poverty.
Let me put it a better way. People have to hate poverty, my brother. You see how black people are hate slavery, so they hate the slave master. People say that place for hate, but I believe a black man cannot love slavery and hope to get out of it, boy. You have to hate it, boy. You check me? You have to hate it. I don't care what people say. I can't be indifferent about it. I cannot love it. So it's one thing it have to do is to hate poverty. People, let me add the things I just tell my family, yeah. Yeah. Never try to get content or to get comfortable with poverty. Every day be at war with poverty. You check?
But again, you see that I come back to. If you're thinking of poverty, and the approach is about poverty, you're going to find yourself in difficulty. But if you're thinking about the prosperity and moving into prosperity, it's not, you don't even go and you go in and see poverty because at the end of the day,
What you think I was just telling you, You can only be charitable to me in prosperity. And when you prosper, you can be charitable.
Yes, but if you
Because
think in a
people have different ideologies. Some people figure well, they'll leave their child hungry and they'll feed their neighbor child.
yes,
You
but hear
check
what I
me?
telling you, Franco.
Or they'll feed you check me, but
Hear what I telling you.
yeah.
If you dare talking about the ideology of poverty,
Mm.
then you finding yourself in poverty.
No, it have
Because
the ideology
we
of
have to talk about
prosperity I
we have
talking
to
about.
talk about the
It
prosperity
is
and
that
how
I
we're
talking
moving
about.
into the
You check I telling
prosperity.
you.
That's why I telling you. So we have to be able to show the plan, the ideology of the prosperity. You check me? I say no. The problem, okay, see that back to the same university thing. Huh? When it comes to and our final work, you have to do create a thesis and come and discuss that in front of our panel. You see, in the thesis, you have to look when they give you the whether you can come up with your own topic for discussion or they give you a topic of discussion. But you have to research the problem. But the emphasis is not on the problem. You're researching the problem, you're writing about the problem, you're presenting the problem. But in the presentation, the focus is on your solution towards that problem. You check and how you in your creativity can fix that problem. If you cannot fix that problem or present a solution that is viable or sustainable enough to deal with that problem, it's like they write you off one time. Even if your analysis of the problem on point, but your solution huh, cannot address the problem. It's bye bye for you, my brother. Yeah, one time bye bye for you.
I like that ideology because you see that to me that is how you keep efficient.
Yes, but that's what
That
I'm
is how
telling
you
you.
that is
So,
how you stay efficient because
so when we there
your
now and we
time
check it,
wasting on my brother. You check?
that's why I telling you now. I never know myself as someone to sit down and complain. Like, boy, how much years does there about a problem? A problem. Bomb that supposed to be able to
You
present
think I have
a
time to waste,
solution.
Pyro? You think I self thinking of wasting another second of my time, my bro? That's why every day every day people finding well, yeah, I a little abrasive or I eject me. But the guy got time to waste, bro. And you see them last time there, I even stop responding to people. Like getting upset with people that don't even understand their own dilemma, much less to reject me. Boy, I just leave
Okay,
that
you see
and
like
I
all
just
that.
check like,
You
yeah,
see like all that.
I don't have, you check,
You see like all that.
yeah.
The other day now I sit down and well, it's not just the other day, but over the years now you come to agree that, boy, we have to live together no matter what it is. You check whether,
Pyro,
whether, huh?
how we gotta live together? How they gotta live with me, Pyro?
No matter.
I do not reward bad behavior. I don't reward it from my 5-year-old. I
Listen to what
don't
I telling
reward
you
it
now.
in any of
Listen.
my children. I don't reward it in.
Yes,
And it's
but
because I doesn't reward bad behavior. Why I lose my job? Why they
listen,
terminate my employment?
listen
Because
to what I.
you have about 50 grown adult people not understanding that the only reason that they getting treated that way is because they condoning the rewarding bad behavior. Simple.
Yeah, but I
I
tell
don't
you a
see how
thing.
they gonna live with me, Pyro.
At the end of the day, yes, they may fire you, huh? But that doesn't eliminate you from the society, huh?
No.
Exactly. So no matter how you put it, we
Yeah.
have to live
But
together.
then you see, yeah, that
And you know what I make me see that? Well,
you know why I check in with, you know why I check in. them people lapsing. Like they cannot. Right now, I outside there. I in the perfect position to help them with their problem. You check me.
Okay.
Anytime me stand up in all you tell Flacco. Just tell Flacco. He don't like when you see people talking about him, calling Q, talking, saying, he don't like that. He wouldn't know who that call Tyro, but call Tyro. Anytime you see Titus Francis, don't pay all you, but and what's his name? The Gregoire, um, the Gregoire one does, yeah, the Gregoire one. You see them two man there. Anytime them man do pay all you down there,
So
call,
the ambassador man,
yeah. You
not
check.
so.
Yeah, they on the board of directors with, and we
Okay.
have another set of them. I don't even, let me tell you, I don't even open my dossier on Public Hooks. Public Hooks think they escape under my watch. Them man believe they escape under my watch. Them man might get a stroke. When you see, I decide
I see.
to
When you
deal
bring
with
down the
them.
axe.
You check? I just, you know what that the experience in there, the camp before this summer. I don't even worry with
Hurricane
yourself.
season going to start on the
You know
first.
that. Also, they better hurry up and go and pay Social Security for 2024 for public works. I don't know what all you do with the money. All you don't want security to know because all you collect the money. That is why all you don't want me to go by labor division and for shit to start to smell. Pay them people Social Security. You know all now people can't want to claim like sick benefits and things down there because
No payment.
yeah for 2024. But the one that like to run on thing there and say Thomas later lying and then he and Thomas later have to be back and forth talking about is that one that lying and is that yes we pay on time and that one there you might hear he come out and say just now they pay Social Security for 2024. But don't let me go down there and hear you lying, and you don't pay it, Okay, anyway. Back to the regular program. You check Pyro? I stopped getting upset with them thing there, my brother. And
Yes, because now you're telling you. You see how I telling you.
Mr. Calm.
At first, you check all 2 days there. You check me. Now your man and them with me and the man checking. Why? Moun Séwyè go quiet so now. I'm calling now. And the man checking like, that man buy all the fellas, man.
Silence is a language too.
So the fellas checking like, but one thing I like Pyro is you can make them joke with you. We can't go. So I checking out. Okay. So I tell the man and them, I rather them know it's different phase, you check. But the time is a different phase.
Yeah, but I can't make,
but
them man making joke with me, Pyro, about real thing I dealing with, which I telling you. I just always take it like, yeah. So
But
say
you
I
see,
find nigga and maybe more make a joke with you than me, but
that's what the thing about it. No matter what it is,
yeah.
we don't have to live together. And we have to find ways of communicating, you check. Because all of us in the bad situation, you check. It's not like to say because you're supporting Labour Party, that means you're in a better
Hold on,
situation.
let me address Z there a while. Z,
What you say?
Z say, you must take a page from Pyro. Lately I see you flipping easily. It's not because you are alienating folks who have been following you because of your original nature, so don't get too extreme. Okay. Z boss, you see the extreme thing? That is my nature. You
Yeah.
see the other one? That is the facade. You check I telling you? I was a nice fella. I was so shy, my brother. Any little thing I used to cry the boy. Ask anybody
Yeah,
about
I
me in
remember Black
SMP.
with SMP this.
You check me?
Yeah, Black
But
what's up?
you know what happened to me? Dominica, that happened to me.
Yeah,
Dominica.
primary school Black what's
So when
up?
you see I see what happening with our young men, I walk in their shoes already. You check? You see this soft fella, I don't know where maybe he's inside there somewhere still. Maybe that's why sometimes People just see it like, you know. But when
Oh
you
shit,
when
there's
you
so
get
much water.
when you get abused so much and then abuse yourself and then you check me, you know what happens? You put up a wall. That's why I know that when we come with positive message and a lot of, you know, good things, yeah, it have some people that will gravitate to the positive message, but it has some people that just don't really want to fucking hear you. All they want is change. They don't want to hear about what going into the sausage. And that's what I think a lot of times we don't get. You know, I am a first generation of youth that watch, boy,
What you
our
watch?
children. You see our children do
What you watch, my
getting
brother?
ready to watch us live 40 and 30 years undignified. You know what that make me, how I am is like watching the indignity that my parents had to suffer and deciding early in life that I wasn't going to have none of it. You check, I telling you, none, zero. And maybe I think maybe if it had more people that was less tolerant of the bullshit that going on in Dominica, I could have been a gentler person. Because then that would, I wouldn't feel like as if it's sometimes it's one, just a little group of us that have to push back against a freaking mountain. You check? A mount, and to me, it's not even a mountain. To me, it's like a pit just waiting to just devour another generation of young lives. You check, I telling you, and my children among them. I haven't. I don't. I want to see an exit strategy for them. I don't want them to come and inherit a education system that is prehistoric. You check me, and people that do want to solve their problems based on logic.
What
That
is it?
people, huh? That people that
You see,
do
Flaco?
want to. You check, and you know what's the thing? Sorry for the rest of us, but I do trust all you enough to say like I will die and close my eyes and my children will benefit from it, like because I want to see it before I die. You see all the that I can't live on promises, from Labour Party, from nobody, because everything I have, my brother, I build in it on my own. You check, and purposely so because you see, if nobody have to raise a red finger and point in my direction to say like as if they they give no, because I have to prove it. I have to prove it to myself and to my children and maybe to the others that looking that we can make it without a handout from the government. You check, I telling you, we seem to think that we can sit. We have to everything we doing. If the government do like as if we disable. You check me. So I want it rough, my brother. You check. I do all the trades. Young when I was youth man. One of my early memories is seeing my mother drinking a portion of pills and trying and kill herself. You check. Only want to be real. Let's be real like that. So when I hear young people taking their life, you check me. When I hear young man died on a block that I come out from, you check me. A thing I always used to say, I used to hope that when I leave the block, like I would be an example that some of these other fellas could maybe follow, because I would be maybe making a decent life for myself, and and to a certain extent I've done that, but not enough to encourage them to leave what they were doing and maybe you know and then all I hear in is a set of little boys younger than me just every other day you hear one of them dying. You check, I telling you, and then to listen to the hypocrisy of people saying, oh, why they doesn't go and get decent work, honest work to do. You check me, and I know what all you doing, honest hardworking people outside there. I mean, you honestly, you listen to what I'm telling you, my brother. what I going to tell a young man to go and work honestly for after what I just experienced? I mean, yes, I will continue to tell them to go and look for constructive, positive work to do, But I refuse to
Make a background.
tell a man to make a hypocrite statement to a man about love himself and then go and get a job where it's only exploitation he have to face. That is bullshit. So even before we can talk about, so you see, those things they are fundamental. If we don't talk about those things there, I don't know how we're going to get to talk about a vote.
But yeah, what I've been saying, and that's what I admire about the Moun Séwyè group. Maggie, Pyro, Flacco, and Tola. They all bring a different perspective to the conversation. Have a different personality. They all have having the same objective to see a better Dominica. Yeah, man, Alvi, you don't see it. Everybody have their angle. You know. But yeah,
I think the youth know what time it is, and like Pyro saying, it is
let me tell you
vision
that.
and a plan, my brother.
I see it in my community every day. The man and them want a leader. They check. And people just identify with man as leaders, you check. And people just come and speak to us, you check. People just speak to me. You check me, and that is why there's whole certain perspective to you check, and I see things certain way because before it's like, boy, you know, you have your ideology and you stick to your ideology and you just check it to help everybody, you know, you just do what you're doing, check. But then sometimes you humble yourself and you sit and you hold a conversation and you see a man, you feel it. You have to be empathetic in life if you want to lead, especially when you want to lead, or especially if people see the leadership in you, check. Because sometimes, not sometimes now, like I just tell people, you never know what is a man's situation, why he might be supporting Labour Party. You never know. What is his situation, why he might be living the way he lives in, or what is his history that have him in the way he is. I remember a man always used to tell me, don't say Allah, don't say Allah for him, don't cry for him. You know? That's what he do. You check. You know, and yeah, we have to be empathetic and tolerant towards one another. You check me. And without that, we're in a shit boat. So yeah, sometimes we might get extreme with one another, but at the end of the day, no matter what it is, you have to be able to tolerate one another. You check on it. Because when things get extreme, is murder, and even after you kill somebody, sometimes you still check it for forgive him still, you know. But yeah,
Boy, Pyro, whenever we talk about Dominica,
I say it's sending you in a Western world.
no, it does. My whole life I live in Dominica, bro. I see people grow up like from baby to big man working and thing in Dominica,
Yeah,
Which you guys saying?
I know man that tell me they never travel. never leave the
Yeah.
Jackie like my brother. What you
Well,
talking about?
well,
Yeah,
I had the benefit of traveling a
man,
little, but
never leave the place. Not even no go
yeah,
Guadeloupe, man. Just,
yeah, yeah,
just the way.
Yeah, we.
yeah,
Huh? Less than 2 hours away, my brother. Guadeloupe is a 15-minute flight.
yeah. But you would think that that is a minority, but to a certain extent, that is a majority when I watch it, bro.
But plenty way for
Because
true.
plenty people,
But no, our plenty man go Guadeloupe.
yeah,
Because
plenty
when you
man
see,
go.
let me tell you that. When I see man, and I sit down too, and I talk
Maybe
to
after,
fellas,
yeah,
and man start to give me their story. A man tell me, yeah man, I run Guadeloupe season.
yeah,
Me tell you now, you'd be surprised to see the amount of fellas that make back now. The
yeah,
and bring a season Guadeloupe in, even if it's one liquor season.
yeah,
Huh?
yeah, man.
Man telling you, yo, when I see fellas, I tell you, elder man, but at a 90 something year old man, me says, Mr. Tell me start about going up on one carriage before going Guadeloupe. Huh? The back door seen there in that poverty thing there a long time, and that struggle thing and go in a place that
Yeah, but you see, those things there, rather than becoming a formalized thing where you have, and you have less of it in the negative sense. You check me. What 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 you have than a proliferation of you check me. To me, where we should have our biggest opportunity is where we just they're fucking around with, sorry my language, you check? Because even if right, the we were promised a boat to move our goods, to ship our goods and so on. It we The promise was never made good. It was never delivered upon. But like you say, why sit there and wait, my brother, when we should be applying our own solutions?
yes, and
Which
apart
I
from
say
that now,
that's
when I
why
tell
that's
you,
part of the reason why I come Harlem, like with my little honey production thing
yeah,
there, because
and
I check in that would be the perfect scenario to be able to link up with a man that maybe making his trip go and come. You check and I can,
yeah,
So the opportunities there, people just,
yeah, and see the thing about it too, even like see like what you say. So you have a government that comes to and promise this, promise that, and never deliver. Huh?
yeah,
On promises that sitting down there for 20 years. And it's the same thing as yeah, man. Never really sit down and dwell on the problem. You check it, deal with it, find a solution.
yeah,
So how you come and you promise me and I still have voted for you? Huh? But you come and you promise to address my situation and you do address it. Yes, you will still maybe give me a $2. Huh?
yeah,
And yes, the first time it maybe take me and I check in like, oh. But a man can be going down a bad road, but you have to reach the next fork in the road and realize to himself, yo, it's
time to
either you
change the
continue
course.
along the bad road or you change the course and address the issues. You check. And in addressing the issues, realizing, yo, them, them people that's taking man, that's feel like they can mama guy man how they want and do man what they want. And it's like, man, that's supposed to sit down there and take it. No, address the issue. And in addressing the issue, I know, okay, yo, Papi shooting you on. You check.
Yeah,
So from his Papi shooting you on, yo, disrespect you, looking for me to disrespect you. You check. Or just leave you along your way, boy. I can't go back and vote for you again. Huh? Even if you come so and you give me $2 again, but I know to myself $2 cannot sustain me for the 5 years. So yes, I take the $2, but at the end of the day, I know to myself I'm not going to vote for you again.
yeah,
You check? Because you already don't promise me you're going to provide a boat, a refrigerated boat that I can use to carry my produce, agricultural produce. So I can get it sold to hucksters or whatever it may be. And if you cannot deliver,
Yeah.
so you and your policy to facilitate the economic development of me as an individual or a group of us as individuals, reject me or a business entity, whatever it may be, and further the nation. But you're not capable. You have shown
Yeah.
to me that you're not capable of delivering on that ideology. You have shown to me that you cannot deliver on that whole vision. And
No,
why
no,
should I
no. You see,
continue
you see,
burning myself now and sit down there and check it out?
your
Come on.
time. Because listen,
You don't show me.
money. Do you see the money that they're willing to give you there? The money don't worth nothing to them. The only thing that's worth anything is the time. You understand? So when you take that time, right, and you give it to them, man, you know what that is there? Because when you do
Yeah,
nothing
they
with
get
that,
the opportunity for them to make their money.
but you know
And
under
you
the
lose. Exactly. So that's why I'm telling you now. Why, after I see that,
yeah.
me in myself wanting to deal with my problem, supposed to check straight to myself that there's no way I can vote for you already.
So
Because you cannot deliver. You don't show you cannot deliver.
so those who hoping to garner that support to get that vote are the ones that should be coming to fill in those gaps. To me, that is not a hard gap to fill. You understand?
True.
How hard is it to get a boat to ship produce or to, it may be not something that is might be a formidable challenge for a one man on his own, for one individual on his own. But you can form organizations without, if as a political organization in opposition, you can help to forge the path towards that, towards realizing that. Okay, to me that, like I was talking about earlier, is something that will satisfy the material needs of a certain section of the community. You understand?
Mhm.
And it will have its ripple effects. Okay, because when you have that, people that can depend on that to make their livelihood, and that people can actually see that thing, like you say, go from vision to manifestation. That already speaks for itself. When people look over there and say, but yeah, but look, those people eating sausage already, they will come. You understand? So while yes, there are some people who gravitate towards, naturally towards the ideology, you check me. It have some people that will be there only waiting on the sidelines until they see a manifestation. You know,
Mhm. True.
you will always have those. So it's important now to fill in the voids, to fill in the gaps where necessary. And we may not, boy, and I don't even know how I talk in there right now. In what text, or in what context, or in what tense, you check me. But if we hoping
Well,
to shift the stone, my brother, we have to start somewhere, and to me that is one of the places we can start. We talk about empowering people, because when people become empowered, they will empower others. Don't ever
true,
think
true.
a man want to be on his boat here alone.
Can
He
never
alone
be
can
on.
never be captain in his. You check me. So when that man have his ship, have his, he as a captain, have his crew, and now you bringing up other man. You check me.
Mm.
Then when you do watch, my brother, we have a fleet in.
True, true.
We have a fleet. So to me, we have 21 ships. We need
okay, let's not go so far as to say 21. We want, whenever there is something to vote on in the parliament or something to debate on in the parliament, we want a greater voice in opposition in the house. That is what the politics is about.
To me,
You don't.
I don't believe
We while yes, we have people that may be aspiring for power, and yes, that is one thing that could be the outcome. Yes, but we have to start
to me, Flacco, it's not
winning
about being a,
support.
you know what I say? It's not even about being a greater voice in opposition, but having the independence that when there needs to be an opposition,
True.
that there
That there is
can
a
be an
formidable
opposition.
opposition. Yes, okay. I get it.
Because the ideas, we're supposed to be able to sit down together and create the ideas together and respect everybody's idea. Because even a man in opposition, and like I just tell people, government is the parliament. As long as you're a member of parliament, as long as you're MP, you're a member of the government, you're a part of the government. Opposition is part of government.
Yes.
Some people have people thinking that the opposition is not part of government. A member of parliament forms part of government. Government is three branches. They never tell you government is the winner takes all and them thing there. They tell you parliament, cabinet, and the judiciary. Three branches, that is government. All the institutions that form those three branches, all the people that participate in those three branches are part of the government.
True.
As long as you're an elected member of parliament, you're part of government. And even those that are appointed. You check? So as long as you're a part of the parliament, you're a government member. So all them things there is things we have to come to understand. So when we come to and parliament having a debate and parliament having a discussion, the discussion is supposed to be on a level where, boy, because you as a member of parliament, you're representing an entire constituency as an elected member of parliament. You're representing an entire constituency. You're representing an entire sector of the population. Hmm? People views, people, you check me? You are the voice of a set of persons in the government. So when you come so and you present an idea, whether you are in the majority or you are in the opposition, your idea is supposed to be respected. You check me? Because it's something that is a contribution that could make a development for all of us. Is a contribution that is a contribution you could be making, whether it's on behalf of even the ruling party members, Because when you become the constituency, representative of the constituency, you don't become representative of just the people that vote for you. You become the representative of everybody. Huh?
Yeah.
So even man that don't vote for you is supposed to be able to sit down and discuss with you and say, well, okay, boom, we see we have that and that problem. Reject me. So when you now come in parliament, you can represent even their interests. Because it's not about who vote for you, but it's about the constituency. Reject me. But the way the man make that is like a kind of a gang thing, and if you're not for me, I'm not for you, or if you don't vote for me, you're not for me, and them kind of a nonsense there. You check. And I see what Alvin's saying too. A lot of people don't understand what voting is about and government is about and the institution of government, and it's a sad, a really, really sad thing, You check me?
Yeah.
And it's an education that needs to be imparted with our fellow country people. You check
Yes,
me?
but you see, we have to come up with solutions to reduce things like the brain drain and all of those things there, because that is the inherent
Well, even
like
even if the
thing
brain
that
drain, if we have a function in society, my brother, brain drain automatically going to fix itself if you have a function in society. And I mean, yes, you'll take steps to deal with the brain drain. Like one of the
you know
things for
why I
me,
say that, Byron.
one of the things for me, Flacco, you see that whole scholarship thing. I rather scrap that and create a university in Dominica. Allow the educated people to be right here and be able to directly input their things in Dominica.
No, yeah, that you just made a nexus between education and the condition that we facing, right? Our awareness about the constitution and well, our lack of knowledge about the constitution and
The functional government,
the function of government, sorry, and
the
the
constitution too, yeah.
constitution and the situation we have there right now. So what I draw in from that is that people educated to a certain degree is like you cannot, it harder to press them down or to push them down into certain conditions. If you get where I coming from. It's like once a man know better or and is prepared to do better, it hard to push him back into, like forgetting into ignorance then. Once you know better, you tend to want to do better. Me check.
Necessarily. Yeah. Not necessarily.
Why would you say not necessarily though? In what instances? Because to me, anybody that
Again, Cuba.
facing this situation
Again,
believe that
Cuba.
they have the opportunity to do
Again,
better.
Cuba.
Huh?
Again, Cuba. Like in Cuba, they'll tell you, they'll tell you straight. Oh, they don't have a dictatorship. They're not a dictatorship. Hmm. The history books will show you something totally different. So the teacher will even read it for you that, yeah, in the history books to show you, well, yeah, different levels of dictatorship they have been proven. And yet still they turn around and deny it and tell you, no, it's not a dictatorship. But they educated enough to understand that they do the history. Some of them are the ones that write in the history books. So I've seen that. And even here, you see some so-called educated people that would still support the discrimination and say like, yeah, we live in a democracy. No, you can't be living in a democracy. And
I would say that is institutionalized rivalry. That to me, it have institutionalized education, and then it have like education. You check if education do making a man free, then it's indoctrinating him. Basically, yeah. It's just like you saying you have to anytime you educated, but you still feel like you have to be in part of in like a gang.
indoctrinated.
You indoctrinated.
Yeah,
You any
well, the
yeah. You when
comments.
you look at educated people will go into they don't afraid to go into any or to have their own beliefs challenged or to maybe even adapt their knowledge to new information that might be confronting them. really educated people hardly really defend stuff, because if a thing is a fact don't need somebody shouting loud and arguing to defend it. A
True.
fact is a fact.
That's
You
why
get
they tell
me?
you the people that most times the people that can handle the power never seek the power. The vast majority of the
Well,
time. So
because
that is why a lot
because
of
you
time,
see, to that power thing, they have a lot of freaking argument.
not
You see
just a
what I'm
matter of
telling you?
argument, but it's like you say, the people with the you see like and we just take things for granted there and is that thing I myself are guilty of. Take my abilities for granted a lot. But the vast majority of times the people are capable,
Yeah.
they want to do something else. They're not interested in it.
But of course,
But anyway, I read the two comments that Alvin saying there. We vote to elect someone representative who will provide for our development as individuals and collectively as a country. Yeah, that's right, Alvin. You're correct 100%. I mean, yeah, we have the MPs, members of parliaments, and they are part of the government, whether they form the majority to form the government or they in the minority and form opposition. Well, they are all part of government as members of parliament, elected or appointed. They are part of government. And once that saying the group needs a media personnel which can dissect these conversations and create short song bites that can be shared amongst the youths. Tonight had some poignant segments. Well, it's something you could maybe take up as that.
yeah, man.
I mean,
Boy, my friend, I can tell you, it ain't easy, but we doing it still.
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing, right? I wouldn't lie. It's something growing up, I used to check like I wasn't really interested in politics. But then when I really look back at it, my brother, I checking like shit I talking. I always interested in politics. Especially when I go to Cuba, boy, I realized like, yo, shit, like I still, I
Yeah.
still go and read some high philosophical thing. I don't know, I'd like it, I enjoy it. But yeah, well, I said say his hands full.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, the whole
To me,
and
me
then
bro,
with architecture,
yeah,
learning architecture and them things and how human like it teaching you you have to be able to relate to how people think, man. You check. Because okay, take for instance, if I come and design a house for you, my brother, I have to question you and figure out certain things. And be able to understand. Because some manners have limited in their expression. Some people might not know what they want. Some people they know what they want, but they don't really know how to express it. You check. So sometimes you have to find ways of figuring out things. You check me, and sometimes people might know certain things and understand certain things, but they might not know that that is what they want. You check. Sometimes you just know, okay, well, you want a functional space. Or sometimes you might check, well, you like I already talked to persons and they tell you, okay, they want that, they want this, they want. When you sit down and you explain it to them and you rationalize it to them, they check it. Oh, that makes sense. You understand that kind of a way. So it's a thing that really interested me, like figuring out that human conversation of how we really think, how we function as people. Yeah, I can go really deep, but
boy, I
and
never had a good outlook for the, yeah, I can tell you that.
politics is a thing. That is what it really is about. It's human interaction and people and the interests of people, you know. So you check if you don't have a good outlook in the afro.
I never really wanted to. Let me tell you something, my friend.
Check it, you never really wanted to be in the
Not just not a matter of being in DA. Nah. I never had a problem with being in DA. It's just what I do in DA. You check,
yeah,
and that
it's a kind
because
of a
that
waste
same
of
thing
time too, you
there,
know.
working and facing exploitation, my brother. Them kind of a thing there. You check,
But you see,
can't deal with
as
it.
you say that,
You
I'm
know
making
what?
me
You know
remember
what?
when I leave school, my brother. I can work for a man. You check, and like I never forget that PD come, and we didn't really have no arrangement for pay, but when PD come, I get 495 EC dollars for a whole month of work. That was when I was 1996, 97, I think it was. Sometime in 1997. 400, 1997, for doing office work, accounting, well, bookkeeping, and arranging. I come down, even weeks as basically supervising the office. Ah, boy, that kind of shake my brains. I check it, boy, I cannot stay in that work environment. There's no way I can work for that little bit amount. Go and study, come back, and the situation like it get worse. You check? Because there it is now, man. Go promise you. Boy, okay. Can pay you 1,005 flat salary and a commission on all projects you work. In 1 month, do how much project and never even see a commission. Then you sit down and have a discussion, and the man will check like, boy, I have X amount of responsibility. I say, okay, so if you know you couldn't keep your side of the bargain, why make the bargain? And
Because he knew it was what he was doing already.
yeah, and the system allowing them things.
But you see, it's not today. It's
But
not
that's what I'm
today
telling you,
like
the
that.
system allowing them
That I
things.
tell you,
So
that is why now I used to be as a youth man now, and that's why I keep talking about that. You know, we think when our children like 6, 7, 8 years old, like they don't know what going on. You check me, and I know myself, Dreddy. When I was that age, they had already don't know the time. You check. By the time I was what 12, 13, you madman. I was trying to see how I could go and sell a little weed, boy, to see
when
what
I
I
was
could do.
them
Man, you
age,
check my telling you,
I had ways of making
huh?
my money. I
Because
used to
because you see,
fix bicycles, go to buy bicycle, fix that, sell that.
you see, Pyro,
Well,
when you watch it, and I see it still happening now. You check I telling you, it's still happening now. You check I telling you, young like that friend. I maintain I don't want to work for people, you know,
true, true.
because I see what was going on, my boy. You check, I see what was going on, and then when it reached the point where okay, well, I get in trouble, you know, and my mother decided, well, you see that Rosso thing there, she can take us out, Rosso, and she well, they put me on the house arrest cell, and it's like as if I forget everybody Rosso, because when they take us out Rosso, they take us out Rosso, my brother, because I start to get into some shit. You
It's
check,
go exile.
boy, my brother. Next thing, my boy, I seen well, yeah, working that 9 to 5 thing there. Sometimes 4 months no pay. You check
Why?
me, and For a
That
while,
is the
you know
thing. I
what,
never accept that from nobody.
for a while I escape and I go on my own, you check me. So I there, so I on the street, I making my little money, you check me. At that time I do have children, I do. And that now was the next thing in the next phase where okay I was checking like, boy, you see that thing there, I don't go in and work for man. Okay, I work in now. You check me. I work in now. I a young man checking my vibe, but I don't want children. You check. I don't want them. My family, you. You madman.
But they come
What I
along.
living them for?
I say they came along.
What? Yes, but at that time, you know what I check in my brother? What I put in a child in that kind of
Visa.
misery for. Mm. I self don't want to be in it. What I going to put a child in it for? You check?
I feel, boy, I feel
And let me tell you
most of us
something.
go through that.
Rules with scary things didn't come along as yet, no, my friend. I talking
Uh,
about before scary thing, no, my boy.
I feel you on
You
that.
check, I telling you,
I feel
because that is the kind of, I wanted to see some shit for my life. You check me, that ideology of retirement and contentment that them people selling in Dominica for young people. The young people can't hear that, my brother. We have 30, 40 years to live, boy, and we want to do something with that time. You check, I telling you, we don't want to just give it away to somebody to increase their profits. You check, I telling you, we not dumb, boy. We educated. We know what is the value of our time. You
true,
check
true.
me? So don't come and tell us about we lazy and we think, and I agree with them young people. Lang book, boy. We do working for nothing, my brother. We watch our
Yeah,
mother,
on the,
father,
you
them
see,
work for nothing. All you have trouble in a wholesome way. New to have I point here we. You check
let me
me?
tell you that.
And only want us to come and work for
You
nothing,
see,
boy.
after Hurricane Maria,
Boy, let me tell you something, boy. Fix all yourself, boy.
after Hurricane Maria, I see that in
11 o'clock we buy pyro.
for sure, boy, 11:23.
Go ahead, go ahead.
After Hurricane Maria, working for IOM in IOM. When I come and work for IOM was importing workers from how much different countries. But when you look at what they man pay in the local man, and they check in, they don't get in local people to work. Yeah, we basically, myself and the engineer, we just have to restructure that whole thing. And so we end up start getting GA man to start working in that,
What is a man time
You
work,
check
boy?
me. And it's a thing, it's like as if we as a people, it's like we doesn't want another or fellow Dominican to have a comfortable pay work. It's like as if some of us already underpaid and it's like we forcing that on the others in. When we have the opportunity to change the culture and change the environment instead of looking at it like that, we taking our hatred and pass it on others. You check me? And that is the saddest part of that thing, man. You check? Because when we can say, okay, boy, I never get the opportunity to do it, but I'm in the position to create that opportunity and allow a man to get it straight. You check? Let me create that. You check? Because I never enjoyed the way I should have enjoyed or the way it's supposed to be. That you see, underemployment, we just talk about unemployment, but you see, underemployment is a brutal, brutal thing. To know, boy, you suppose, okay, to know where you should be getting
To know your worth.
a 4,000, 5,000 and you have to work for 1,000 or 2,000. Huh?
Demoralizing.
That more than demoralizing. I said, man, I rather stay at my home and do work with. Huh? If I know, but I rather stay at my home and do work for nobody. And do like a menial work for me to be able to survive. Because that don't make sense. You know, I tell a man at time, brother, you know the responsibility you have to carry. Huh? For me to say, well, okay, boom, you give me a job, and I say, well, okay. my salary is supposed to be at least what, a 6, 7 grand. Huh? And you go watch me and tell me, why okay, 3,000. Man, boy, you know the responsibility you have to wake up, make sure certain things certain way and do certain things and ensure people do what they're supposed to. And be responsible for others. And you're telling me I can't even do that in a right frame of mind because my whole self is like, all that responsibility for that little bit amount. That very much.
But they will pay people that secure in
The bank
bank.
money to make sure they don't touch the bank money, you know, Joe? Okay.
Pyro,
Pyro,
I
Anyway,
I
I
think
think
it
it
was
was
a,
a
yeah,
yeah,
man,
to
it
the
was
nice
viewers,
report.
yeah, it was
yeah, that we're
We're
going to
going to
say
say
a
our
long
nice,
nice.
discussion, a rather long discussion.
yeah. So I
So I
guess
guess
Zed
Zed
will
will
see
see
next
next
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, so they laughing not we enjoy the discussion.
And
And
Alvin,
Alvin,
I
I
guess
guess
we
we
will
will
see
see
next
next
Monday
Monday
as
as
well
well
as
as
the
the
other
other
viewers,
viewers.
you know. It was great
Great
catching
catching
up
up
with
with
you
you
guys
guys
again.
again.
Um, I
I
want to
want to
just
just
send
send
the
a
condolences
condolences
out
out
to
to
my
my
my extended
extended
family in
family from
Funkule, you
Korea
know, over the
the
passing of one of our
our
young
young
ones.
ones.
Keep
Keep
our
our
family in
family
the
in the
prayers
prayers.
and have a productive week.
Week.
We'll see
See
all
all
you
you.
next Monday.
Come on,
One
blessed
love.
love to everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
boy,
boy,
Pyro.
Pyro.